The galaxy had forgotten them. Once, the colony world Erivos had been full of light. Its cities touched the clouds, and its people believed the Galactic Union would always protect them. But when the war came, the Union ships fled, leaving millions behind to burn. Now only a few thousand humans remained, hiding deep under the cold ground, waiting for a rescue that would never come. Commander Rhea Solan stood at the edge of the underground hangar, staring at the flickering lights on a cracked control screen. Dust fell from the ceiling as distant thunder rolled above, not from storms, but from orbital fire. Somewhere up there, alien scavengers were still tearing apart what was left of human ships. She whispered, "They left us to die, all of them." Her second officer, Keelan, adjusted his headset. "No new signals, Commander. The Union beacons went silent last year." "It's over," Rhea didn't reply. She had heard those words too many times. Over, lost, forgotten, but she refused to believe it. Above the broken planet, giant ships belonging to the Zerath, a reptilian species, moved through the ruins. Their leader, Warlord Serac, laughed as he watched the human cities burn. "They begged their Union to save them," he hissed to his crew. "But the galaxy knows humans are weak." The rest of the galaxy had agreed. Humanity had spread too fast, colonized too many worlds, and then demanded protection. When the Great War erupted, the Union decided humans weren't worth the risk, so they were erased from history. In the bunker, Rhea watched old holograms, children playing in the streets, ships lifting into the sky. Now everything was gone. Every night they sent out a distress signal, even though no one ever answered. Still, she couldn't stop. "Keep the signal alive," she ordered. "Someone will hear it," Keelan frowned. "Commander, we have only 3 power cells left. If we keep broadcasting, we won't have enough to keep life support running. Then we freeze in the dark," she said. "But we don't go silent." 2 nights later, something changed. The communication array flickered. At first, it was only static. Then through the white noise came a faint pulse, like an old Earth beacon repeating over and over. A simple pattern. ... dash. Rhea froze. "That's Morse code." Keelan stared at the screen. "Impossible. No one uses that anymore." The sound grew stronger. Through the static, a voice broke through. Deep, calm, and human. "This is Fleet Command. Hold your ground." The entire control room went silent. Engineers and soldiers looked at one another in disbelief. "Fleet Command?" Keelan whispered. "But Earth's fleet vanished centuries ago." Rhea's heart pounded. She replayed the signal, same message again and again. No distortion this time. "This is Fleet Command. Hold your ground." The survivors gathered around the old holomap, staring at the source of the transmission. It was coming from beyond the rim, from deep empty space where no known routes existed. "That's the void," Keelan said softly. "Nothing comes out of there," Rhea smiled faintly. "Maybe nothing. Until now, the others didn't dare to hope. For 300 years, no human ship had crossed the outer rim. The galaxy had already written their species off as extinct, but hope is a strange thing. It doesn't die easily. Above them, the Zerath ships began to descend. Their scanners had picked up movement underground. Serac grinned. "No need to search the stars. The last humans are right below us." Explosions ripped through the surface. Dust filled the tunnels as alarms screamed. Rhea shouted for her people to get to defensive positions. The bunker shook like the planet itself was trying to escape. Keelan yelled over the noise. "We can't hold them." "They're breaking through!" Rhea grabbed his shoulder. "Keep that signal open. If someone's out there, they'll hear us." The floor cracked. Fire burst from the walls. The control room went dark, and then everything stopped. A deep rumble echoed across the sky. The enemy ships froze mid-descent. Instruments went wild. Magnetic fields spiked. Gravity sensors screamed warnings. A massive shadow appeared in the upper atmosphere, larger than any known ship class, surrounded by blue lightning. Smaller vessels followed, dozens, then hundreds. The humans stared at the screen in silence. Keelan whispered, "That's not Union tech." Rhea's eyes widened as the new ships locked onto the Zerath fleet. The comm system sparked once more, clear, steady, and human. This is the Terran Vanguard. You are not alone." A single tear rolled down Rhea's face. After centuries of silence, humanity had returned, and this time they weren't begging for help. They were bringing war. The underground bunker shook for several minutes after the new ships appeared. The air was thick with dust and disbelief. Commander Rhea Solan stood frozen, staring at the cracked screen, showing hundreds of unknown ships above the planet. They looked human, but stronger, darker, and far more advanced than anything the Galactic Union had ever built. Her voice trembled. What fleet is that?" Her tech officer, Keelan, checked the data readings again and again. "The signal is repeating, Commander. Identification tag TVG-001, Rhea frowned. "TVG," Keelan swallowed. "Terran Vanguard Group." The words hit the room like thunder. The Terran Vanguard was an old myth. The last battle fleet that vanished 300 years ago during humanity's final war. People said they had gone into the void and never returned, until now. Above Erebos, the alien warlord Serac shouted orders as his ships turned toward the newcomers. His reptilian eyes narrowed. Human ships? Impossible. They were wiped out centuries ago. But the unknown fleet moved with deadly precision. The lead ship, a massive dreadnought named TNS Omen, fired without warning. Blue energy lances cut through the Zerath cruisers like paper. Within minutes, the alien armada began to crumble. In the bunker, humans watched in silent awe. For the first time in generations, the sky burned, not with their death, but with their revenge. Rhea whispered, "Whoever they are. They're fighting for us." Hours passed. The battle ended as suddenly as it began. The Zerath fleet was gone, vaporized or fleeing into the void. Then a voice came through the comms. Calm, powerful, and unmistakably human. "Surface Command, this is Admiral Draven of the Terran Vanguard." "Identify yourself." Keelan's hands shook as he answered. "This is Commander Rhea Solan of the Erebos survivors. We thought we were the last." There was a pause. Then the Admiral replied, "You are not the last. You are the first we found." Rhea closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt something she had forgotten. Hope. A few hours later, light filled the tunnels. Dropships from the Vanguard descended, landing near the ruins. Soldiers in black armor stepped out, tall, silent. Their suits marked with an old symbol, the Earth flag. Their weapons were unlike anything the survivors had ever seen. Humming softly, bending the air around them, one of them removed his helmet. A human face, tired, scarred, but real. He saluted Rhea. "Welcome back to the stars, Commander." The survivors cheered, cried, and reached out to touch the soldiers, as if to make sure they weren't dreaming. Inside the command tent, Rhea met Admiral Draven through a holographic link. His face was older, his eyes cold and sharp. "Commander Solan," he said, "I've reviewed your colony's records. You were abandoned by the Union after the fall of Sector 9. Rhea nodded slowly. "We called for help every day. No one came." Draven's voice hardened. "The Union left many to die. We remember every one of them." Rhea studied him carefully. "Where did you come from, Admiral?" "The void is a dead zone." He gave a faint smile. "That's what they want everyone to believe." Later that night, the survivors gathered around a campfire outside the bunker. For the first time, they could see the stars without fear. The sky glowed with the lights of the Terran fleet in orbit. Children pointed upward, whispering to each other. "Are they from Earth? Will they take us home?" Rhea stood silently, her hands clasped behind her back. She didn't know what to tell them. The fleet had returned, but something about Admiral Draven's tone haunted her. He spoke like a man who hadn't come for peace. In the command tent, Keelan worked on decoding the full message from the Vanguard. The signal carried more than just communication. It contained a data stream, encrypted and ancient. Hours later, he finally broke through the code. What he found made his blood run cold. He ran to Rhea. "Commander, you need to see this." She leaned over his shoulder. On the cracked screen, the words appeared. "Primary directive. Retrieve survivors. Restore human presence. Eliminate all who abandoned us." Rhea stared at the words in silence. "Eliminate?" Keelan looked at her nervously. "Commander, what if they didn't come to save us? What if they came to take revenge?" Before she could answer, an explosion lit up the horizon, a Union relay station destroyed from orbit by the Vanguard. Draven's voice echoed through the comms once again. "This world is secure. Now the reckoning begins." Rhea stepped out of the bunker, looking at the burning sky. The galaxy had left them to die. Now humanity had returned from the dark, and they weren't here to forgive. The next morning, the sky over Erebos looked different. For the first time in centuries, human ships filled the clouds, dark, silent and powerful. Commander Rhea Solan watched them from the surface. The Terran Vanguard moved in perfect formation, blocking out the light of the twin suns. Each ship carried scars, deep burns, strange metallic veins, and glowing lines that pulsed like veins under skin. They looked alive. "Those ships," whispered Keelan, standing beside her. "They shouldn't exist. Nothing that big could survive in the void." Rhea didn't answer. She was still thinking about the message they had decoded, the line that spoke of elimination. Why would humanity come back with such fury? Later that day, a shuttle descended from the flagship TNS Omen. When its ramp opened, the air seemed to hum. Admiral Draven stepped down, tall, cold-eyed, wearing a black command coat lined with silver edges. His every movement carried the weight of command. Rhea saluted. "Admiral Draven, welcome to Erebos." He returned the gesture briefly. "You've done well to survive, Commander Solan. Few colonies endured this long without aid." Rhea kept her voice steady. "We didn't have a choice. The Union left us." Draven's eyes darkened. "Yes, they left all of us." Inside the temporary base, Draven studied a holographic map showing the nearby systems. Each red mark represented a human colony, destroyed or abandoned centuries ago. There were hundreds. Keelan couldn't hold back. "Sir, if you don't mind me asking, where did you come from?" Everyone thought the Terran Vanguard was lost. Draven looked up slowly. "We went beyond the edge of the galaxy, into the void." Keelan frowned. "But the void kills everything. No light, no gravity fields, no communication." Draven cut him off. "The void is not empty. It is alive, and it taught us how to survive." The room went silent. The way he said it sent chills through them all. Rhea stepped closer. "Why did you return now?" Draven's voice was low. "Because the galaxy forgot what humanity was. They called us weak, primitive, disposable. The Union used us as soldiers, then threw us away when we bled too much for their wars. Now," he looked at the map, "now they will remember." His words hung heavy in the air. That evening, Rhea walked through the camp. The survivors were laughing for the first time in years, eating real food, breathing clean air, watching the skies filled with human ships. Children ran between the Vanguard soldiers, who looked down at them quietly, unsure how to react. These men and women had lived in the void for generations, far from civilization, far from softness. Their faces carried both pride and emptiness. Rhea could feel something dark behind their silence. As night fell, she was called to the command tent. Inside, Draven stood before a massive screen showing live footage, the ruins of another human colony, half a system away. "Those were our people," he said. "Left behind, burned by Union fleets. The Council called it a containment measure. They were afraid of human rebellion." Rhea's fists tightened. "The Council lied to us," Draven nodded. "They lied to everyone. But the Vanguard remembers everything. We have records, proof, names. Every council member who signed the abandonment orders is still alive. And we will find them." Rhea stared at him. "You're talking about war." He looked directly at her. "War already began when they left us to die." Later that night, Rhea found Keelan working by the old relay tower. The faint light of the stars shimmered across the broken steel. He looked up. "Do you believe him? That they survived the void?" Rhea took a deep breath. "I believe they became something else." Keelan nodded slowly. "Something dangerous." Before she could reply, an alert flashed across his console, a new transmission. It wasn't from the Vanguard. It was weak, encrypted, and using an old Union code. Rhea's heart raced. Put it on speaker. A distorted voice crackled through the static. This is Union Outpost Theta. Do not trust the fleet. They are not what they seem. Then the signal vanished. Keelan stared at her. Commander, what do we do? Rhea looked up at the dark ships floating above them. I think, she whispered, we find out what they really became. The next morning, the Vanguard began constructing massive orbital platforms. The humans from Erebos were invited to join, but always kept under watch. Rhea noticed that no one ever saw the full crew of the Omen. Only a few officers came to the surface, and their bodies seemed changed, faint blue patterns under their skin, like energy veins. When she asked Draven about it, he smiled faintly. The void leaves its mark, Commander. We are the proof that humanity can evolve where others die. She tried to smile back, but her stomach twisted. The more she learned, the more uneasy she felt. That night, while the survivors slept, the Omen's engines roared. It launched a series of strikes on nearby Union stations. The explosions painted the sky red. Rhea woke to the shockwaves. Keelan ran in shouting, "They're attacking Union worlds!" Without warning, Rhea rushed outside. The air trembled as debris fell from the heavens. The once peaceful stars now burned with fire. Above them, Admiral Draven's voice echoed through every comm in the camp. Humanity will rise again, not as servants, but as rulers. The void forged us into gods, and the galaxy will kneel. Rhea looked up, her face pale with horror. The fleet that shouldn't exist had returned not to save the galaxy, but to conquer it. The world of Erebos was quiet again, but the peace felt wrong. Above the planet, the Terran Vanguard fleet glowed in the dark sky, a storm of silent power. People whispered that humanity was reborn, but Commander Rhea Solan wasn't sure what had really been born that day. She stood on the bunker's roof, watching as black ships drifted across the clouds. The once forgotten survivors were now surrounded by soldiers who called themselves saviors, but carried eyes that held no warmth. Keelan joined her, holding a data pad. "Commander, I decoded more of that Union signal from last night." Rhea turned. "What does it say?" Keelan looked uneasy. It said the fleet was changed in the void. Something about symbiosis. It also warned that the Admiral isn't fully human anymore. Rhea frowned. "What do they mean, not human?" Before Keelan could answer, the ground shook. A loud explosion echoed across the valley. A Union spy drone crashed nearby, its sensors fried. Moments later, Vanguard soldiers surrounded the area. Admiral Draven himself arrived, his coat rippling in the wind. His eyes glowed faintly blue under the sunlight. "Commander," he said coldly, "why are Union frequencies active near your camp?" Rhea stiffened. "We picked up the signal by accident." "We didn't send it." Draven stepped closer. "Accidents do not exist in my command. Someone in your ranks is leaking information." The soldiers behind him aimed their rifles. Rhea held her ground. "We are survivors, Admiral, not traitors." Draven studied her for a long moment. Then, without another word, he turned to his men. "Search the camp. Find the source." Hours later, the Vanguard soldiers dragged a man into the center of camp, Lieutenant Marek, one of Rhea's own. His face was bruised, his hands bound. Draven's voice was calm but deadly. "You sent coordinates to the Union." Marek spat blood. "I had to. The Vanguard isn't here to save us. You're burning whole systems." Draven's eyes turned cold. "You call it burning. I call it justice." He nodded once. A soldier stepped forward, raising his weapon. Rhea moved fast. "Wait, he's still human. You can't just—" Draven raised a hand, silencing her. "We do not ask permission to punish betrayal." The shot echoed through the camp. Marek fell, silent, motionless. The crowd of survivors stared in shock. Rhea clenched her fists. "You didn't have to kill him." Draven looked at her calmly. "Weakness is what killed our species once. I won't let it happen again." Then he walked away, leaving the smell of smoke and fear behind. That night, Rhea sat alone in the ruins, her mind spinning. Was this really the humanity they had been waiting for? Keelan found her sitting by a broken console, staring at the stars. "They're not here to rescue anyone," she whispered. "They're here to finish something they started long ago." Keelan hesitated. I've been studying their ships. The energy readings don't match any known reactor type. It's almost alive. Like the ships and the crew are connected somehow. Rhea turned to him sharply. Connected how? Biosynced, he said softly. Their bodies are fused with void energy. It keeps them alive, but it's changing them. Rhea stared into the darkness. So the Union wasn't lying. The next morning, a Vanguard officer arrived with orders. Commander Solan, he said. Admiral Draven requests your presence on the TNS Omen. You've been chosen to lead a reclamation strike. Rhea hesitated. A strike? Against who? The officer's voice was flat. The Galactic Union capital. Her heart stopped. You're attacking the Council? He simply nodded. As the shuttle lifted toward the giant flagship, Rhea looked down at Erebos, the only home she'd ever known, and wondered if she would ever see it again. The TNS Omen was massive inside, metallic corridors glowing with faint blue light. She could feel the ship's hum through the floor, like a heartbeat. Draven waited for her on the command deck, looking out into the endless stars. Commander, he said, without turning, you've seen what the Union did to us. You know their crimes. Yes, Rhea said quietly. But this isn't justice. It's extermination. Draven turned to face her. You call it extermination because you still believe they deserve mercy. They didn't give us mercy when they left us to die. He gestured toward the vast holomap. Dozens of red icons, Union systems, were marked for attack. In the void, we learned a truth, he said. Peace is a lie built by the powerful. Survival belongs to those who take it. Rhea took a step back. You've become what you hated. Draven's expression didn't change. Perhaps. But at least now, the galaxy will fear the name human again. Before Rhea could reply, an alarm blared. A Vanguard ship had exploded in orbit. Keelan's voice crackled through the comm. Commander, someone inside the fleet just transmitted data to the Union. They know your location. Draven's face hardened. Who? Static. Then Keelan's voice again. It came from inside your bridge, from your personal aid. Draven turned sharply toward his second-in-command. The man tried to draw his weapon, but it was too late. Security tackled him. Who sent you? Draven demanded. The traitor laughed through bloody teeth. You think the Union fears you? They know what you are. You're not human anymore. Draven's eyes flashed bright blue. Then let them come. He ordered his fleet to battle stations. Through the window, Rhea saw distant flashes of light, Union warships dropping out of hyperspace. The first great clash was about to begin. Draven turned to her. Commander, you wanted truth. Watch closely. You'll see what humanity has become. Rhea whispered. You're leading us into madness. Draven smiled faintly. No, I'm leading us home. The TNS Omen fired its main cannon. The stars lit up as the war for the galaxy began. Rhea watched the explosions fill the sky and realized the betrayal wasn't just within the fleet. It was within humanity itself. The stars burned again. The war between the Terran Vanguard and the Galactic Union had begun, and the galaxy trembled from the bridge of the TNS Omen. Commander Rhea Solan watched the explosions light up the void. Union ships broke apart like glass under the Vanguard's weapons, but what truly terrified her wasn't the destruction. It was how fast it happened. The Vanguard wasn't fighting a normal war. They were erasing worlds. Target locked, a Vanguard officer said. Admiral Draven, shall we deploy Voidfire? Draven's eyes glowed faintly blue. Do it. A moment later, the stars themselves seemed to scream. From the belly of the Omen, a dark sphere of energy formed, a swirling black flame pulsing with silent rage. When it struck the Union fleet, everything vanished. Ships, debris, even light, all swallowed by nothing. Keelan's voice cracked through the comms from the surface base. Commander! That wasn't a weapon. That was space collapsing. Rhea stared in shock. They're tearing holes in the universe. Draven turned to her calmly. We call it Voidfire. The gift of the dark that raised us when the galaxy left us to die. Gift? She whispered. It's death. He didn't answer. He only watched as another Union world burned. Hours later, silence filled the ship. The Union fleet was gone. Only floating wrecks remained, slowly drifting into the black. Rhea walked to the observation deck. Her reflection trembled in the glass. She barely recognized herself anymore. The soldier, the survivor, now part of a fleet that had become the monster it once feared. Keelan's face appeared on the comm screen. "Rhea, listen to me. I've been studying void fire energy. It's not stable. Every time they use it, it spreads. If they keep firing, it could consume everything, even the fleet." Rhea lowered her voice.
Can you stop it?
"I can try, but I need access to the Omen's core. That means sneaking into the engine bay," she nodded. "Do it. I'll cover you." Meanwhile, Admiral Draven stood alone in the command chamber, surrounded by blue holograms of dying systems. His reflection flickered, half human, half something else. His aide approached. "Sir, the Council worlds are surrendering." Draven didn't smile. "Good, but surrender isn't enough. They must remember who abandoned humanity." The aide hesitated. "Admiral, some officers are questioning the destruction. They say this is revenge, not justice." Draven's voice turned cold. "Then they have forgotten what was done to us." He looked out at the dark stars. "We begged for mercy once. Never again." Below deck, Rhea moved through the metal corridors, her boots echoing in the silence. Every few meters, she passed Vanguard soldiers, their faces pale, their veins glowing faintly blue like Draven's. She whispered to herself, "They're all changing. Even their eyes." Keelan's voice whispered through her earpiece. "I'm inside the reactor chamber. You were right. It's not a normal core. It's alive." Rhea froze. "Alive? It's some kind of living void energy. A creature. They've trapped it and used it as a power source." Rhea's stomach turned. "They're using the void itself to make weapons." Before they could speak further, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the corridors. Draven's voice echoed over the ship. "We have a traitor on board." "Seal all sections," Rhea whispered sharply. "Keelan, hide." "They know." But it was too late. Soldiers flooded the corridors. Rhea fought her way through the hallways, stunning guards with her sidearm. She reached the reactor bay just as two soldiers grabbed Keelan. He struggled. "Rhea, run! Don't let them." A guard hit him hard in the stomach. Draven entered behind them, calm as always. "Commander," he said, "I expected more from you." Rhea raised her weapon. "Stop this, Kyle. You're becoming worse than the Union ever was." Draven walked closer. "The Union killed billions of us and called it peace. The Void gave us strength to make sure that never happens again. It gave you madness." She shouted. He smiled faintly. "Maybe madness is what we needed." He motioned to the guards. They dragged Keelan toward the reactor's glowing core, a swirling black sphere held in energy fields. Draven said quietly, "He wants to shut down my engine. He doesn't understand that this ship is the Void. It feeds on fear, on memory, on death." Rhea's voice trembled. "You're enslaving something that shouldn't exist." He looked at her, almost sad. "You think we control it?" "No, Commander. It chose us. It remembered us when the galaxy didn't." He turned to leave. "Bring her to the bridge when it's done." The soldiers began dragging Keelan toward the containment barrier. Rhea acted fast. She grabbed a fallen rifle and fired at the control panel. Sparks exploded and the lights flickered. The containment field around the void core weakened. Keelan shouted, "Rhea, no!" If this field collapses. The ground shook. The black sphere pulsed, expanding like a heartbeat. Blue fire rushed across the walls. Draven spun around. "What have you done?" Rhea shouted over the chaos. "I won't let you destroy another world." The core exploded with blinding light. When the smoke cleared, Rhea opened her eyes. Half the reactor chamber was gone, torn open to space. She grabbed Keelan's hand, pulling him toward an escape hatch. The alarm screamed across the ship. Draven's voice echoed through the comms, cold, furious, almost inhuman. "You dare defy your own kind. You fight against your rebirth." Rhea shouted back, "This isn't rebirth. This is genocide!" They launched themselves into an emergency pod, escaping just as flames swallowed the lower decks. Through the small window, Rhea saw the Omen drifting, its hull cracked open, but still alive. Still glowing with blue fire, Draven's fleet regrouped around it. Despite the damage, the omen began to repair itself, metal melting and reforming like living flesh. Keelan whispered, "It's healing itself." Rhea looked away. "No, it's feeding." As their pod sped away from the burning warship, she looked at the stars ahead, silent, endless, waiting. "Where do we go now?" Keelan asked. Rhea's voice was calm, steady. "We find the truth about what happened in the void. If we don't stop Draven, he'll burn the whole galaxy." Behind them, the omen pulsed with light again, brighter, stronger, and from its depths, Draven's voice whispered through the comms. "Cold as the stars, you can run, Commander. But the void follows all who betray it." The escape pod drifted through the silent darkness. Commander Rhea Solan sat beside Keelan, both covered in burns and bruises. Through the small window, they watched the TNS omen fade into the void, half alive, half dead, still glowing with blue fire. For a long time, neither spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the pod's engines. Finally, Keelan said quietly, "We're lucky to be alive." Rhea shook her head. "No, we're not lucky. We just escaped a nightmare." He looked at her. "What now?" She took a deep breath. "We go to the Galactic Council. We tell them what the Vanguard has become." Keelan frowned. "After what they did to humanity, you think they'll listen?" "They have to," Rhea said. "If they don't, Draven will burn every world in this galaxy." 2 days later, their pod reached a Union patrol zone near the border of the Epsilon system. The patrol ships quickly surrounded them, their weapons locked. "This is Commander Rhea Solan of the Terran Vanguard," she broadcast. "We are not hostile. We have urgent information for the Galactic Council." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a voice replied coldly, "The Vanguard is an outlawed force. Prepare to be boarded," Keelan whispered. "Not a great start." Rhea smiled faintly. "At least they're still answering." Inside the patrol ship, soldiers aimed rifles as Rhea and Keelan stepped out. The officer in charge, a tall Terran commander, looked suspicious. "The Vanguard slaughtered half our fleets. Why shouldn't we space you right now?" Rhea met his eyes. "Because if you kill us, you'll never know how to stop them." The officer hesitated. "Explain." She pulled a small data chip from her belt. "Everything we found about Voidfire. The energy source they're using. It's not a weapon, it's alive. And it's spreading." He took the chip. His expression darkened. "If this is true, the Council will want to see it." Hours later, Rhea stood before the Galactic Council, a circle of ancient leaders, glowing holograms floating over a white marble floor. The hall was massive, silent, filled with cold light. The council speaker, a being with silver eyes and a calm voice, looked down at her. "Commander Solan, humanity was given exile for its aggression. Why should we believe you now?" Rhea stepped forward. "Because your arrogance created this." Gasps filled the chamber. The guards raised their weapons, but she didn't stop. "You abandoned Earth when we needed help. You watched billions die. And now the Void has answered that." Silence. "Admiral Draven believes the galaxy deserves punishment. And he has the power to deliver it," the speaker frowned. "And you claim this?" "Voidfire is alive?" Keelan stepped up beside her. "Yes, it feeds on destruction. Every time it consumes a world, it grows stronger. It's not just power, it's infection," the council murmured among themselves. One voice whispered, "We thought the void was myth." Rhea looked up. "It's real, and it remembers." Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. The holograms glitched. Keelan checked his scanner. No, this can't be right. They found us." A deep rumble shook the council tower. Outside the windows, the stars burned red. Dozens of Vanguard warships appeared in orbit, and at the center, the TNS Omen, fully rebuilt, glowing like a wounded god. Rhea's blood ran cold. "He's here!" The speaker's voice trembled. "Admiral Draven." Draven's hologram appeared in the air, towering and calm. His eyes glowed blue. "Counselors of the galaxy, once you left humanity to rot in the dark. Now the dark has returned to collect its debt. Council defenses activated. Fighters launched. Energy shields flared to life. But the Omen didn't fire immediately. It just floated, humming with low energy, as if waiting. Rhea ran to the command balcony. "We need to evacuate this planet now!" The speaker turned to her. "We cannot abandon our capital world." Before he finished, the Omen unleashed void fire. A beam of black light shot down from orbit, ripping through the atmosphere. Buildings turned to dust. The sky tore open like paper. Rhea screamed, "Keelan, get the council out!" He grabbed her arm. "We can't stop it!" The tower began to collapse. Rhea and Keelan ran through fire and smoke, leading council members toward the escape shuttles. Behind them, the sky burned red and black. From above, Draven's voice echoed through the comms, calm, almost gentle. "The galaxy left us to die. Now you will understand our silence." Rhea shouted into her comlink, "Draven, stop this!" "You're killing billions," he replied quietly. So did they. Keelan pulled her toward the last shuttle. "Rhea, we have to go." But she stopped at the doorway. "Not yet. If we leave, he'll just follow." Keelan's voice cracked. "Then what are you planning?" She looked up at the burning sky. "We end this. We destroy the Omen from within." Before he could argue, the ground split apart. The shuttle bay exploded, throwing them both backward. The shockwave knocked out power across the compound. As she tried to stand, her communicator crackled with static. Then Draven's voice came through again. "You cannot stop what has already begun, Commander. The Void has chosen humanity as its vessel." She spat blood, glaring at the sky. "Then I'll be the one to break that vessel." Moments later, she saw something glowing among the debris, a crashed Vanguard drop pod. Inside, a single pilot was still alive. Rhea climbed in, pulled the pilot out and started the engine. Keelan limped toward her. "Rhea, please. You'll die if you go alone." She smiled faintly. "Then I'll die for the right reason." He looked at her for a long time, then climbed in beside her. "If we're going to end this, we end it together." Rhea nodded. "Then let's finish it." The drop pod roared into the sky, leaving the burning capital below. Above the planet, the Omen waited, vast, alive, and hungering. The final war had begun. The drop pod cut through the darkness like a falling star. Inside, Commander Rhea Solan and Keelan sat in silence, their faces lit by the red glow of warning lights. Ahead of them, the TNS Omen waited. Massive, monstrous, surrounded by wreckage of council fleets. Its surface was alive with blue fire, twisting like veins across metal. Rhea's hands tightened on the controls. "We get inside, reach the core and shut it down. No matter what happens." Keelan nodded quietly. "No matter what happens." They flew through a broken hangar, entering the ship's hollow interior. The Omen groaned like a living creature. Shadows moved inside the corridors, shapes made of smoke and light. As they stepped out, the ship's systems seemed to recognize them. The walls pulsed with faint light. Keelan whispered, "It knows we're here," Rhea replied. "Then let it remember who we are." They moved deeper inside, past fallen soldiers, twisted metal, and strange black roots spreading through the deck. The deeper they went, the more the ship felt alive. It breathed. It listened. Finally, they reached the central chamber, a vast, circular room glowing with blue mist. At the center floated the Void Core, a swirling sphere of darkness, chained by energy beams. It pulsed like a heart, and standing before it, calm and silent, was Admiral Draven. His uniform was torn, his eyes burned bright blue, and his skin shimmered like liquid metal. He looked almost human, almost. Rhea raised her weapon. "It ends here, Draven." He turned slowly, his voice deep and echoing. "You came back. I knew you would." Keelan stepped forward. "You've turned humanity into monsters. The Void is using you." Draven smiled faintly. "The Void doesn't use us. It remembers us. When the galaxy forgot our cries, it listened. It gave us strength," Rhea shouted. "Strength to destroy everything that breathes." "That's not strength. That's revenge." Draven's expression darkened. "Revenge built civilizations. Fear keeps them alive. The Council burned Earth. Now the stars will feel that pain." He gestured toward the core. "With this power, humanity will never be ignored again." Rhea shook her head. "Humanity doesn't need fear. It needs hope." The core pulsed faster, glowing brighter. The walls trembled. Keelan yelled, "The void energy is unstable. It's feeding off his anger." Draven stepped closer, eyes glowing. "Then let it feed." Energy exploded around them. Rhea and Keelan were thrown back. Sparks filled the air. Rhea coughed, raising her weapon again. "Draven, listen to me. You can still stop this." Draven stared at her, voice breaking. "I begged them to save us, Rhea. The council." They turned away. "I heard the screams of dying children on Earth. Do you know what that does to a man?" Her voice softened. "Yes, but I also know what forgiveness does. It heals." He looked down, trembling. For a second, the blue light in his eyes flickered. Then the core screamed, a deep, endless sound, and chains shattered. The void burst free. The chamber turned into chaos. Darkness spread like liquid fire crawling up the walls. Shadows twisted into hands, faces, whispers. Keelan screamed, "It's breaking containment. Rhea, the whole ship will collapse." Rhea grabbed his arm. "Find the reactor controls. I'll hold him off." Draven stood motionless, his body shaking as blue flames consumed him. The void crawled up his skin, merging with him. His voice was no longer human. "I am the silence that follows death. I am the memory you abandoned." Rhea fired at him. The shots vanished in midair. He raised his hand. A wave of energy threw her across the room. Rhea hit the floor hard, blood in her mouth. She saw Keelan typing into the reactor console, his hands shaking. "I can overload it," he shouted. "But if I do, the ship will explode." She coughed. "Do it." He looked at her. "We'll die." She smiled weakly. "We already did when the galaxy left us behind." Keelan's eyes filled with tears. "Then I'll see you on the other side." He slammed the final command. The reactor screamed, light filling the room. Draven turned to them. His voice echoed through the chamber. "You can't stop the void. It's inside all of us." Rhea stood, limping forward. "Maybe, but we can choose what we become." She opened her wrist console, revealing a small detonator linked to the core. Draven looked at her, realization dawning. "You wouldn't—" Rhea smiled faintly. "For humanity. Always." She pressed the button. The core imploded. A white explosion consumed the chamber. The omen screamed, metal bending, fire erupting, light swallowing darkness. From orbit, the burning warship looked like a new sun rising. For the first time, the void's black flame turned white, pure, silent, peaceful. When the light faded, the omen was gone. Debris floated quietly in the void. The war was over. Hours later, search ships from the surviving Council fleet found a small escape pod drifting near the wreckage. Inside was Keelan, barely alive. He opened his eyes slowly. "Rhea?" No answer. Only the stars. He looked out through the window, and for a moment, he saw a faint white glow in the distance, like a woman's silhouette standing in light. He whispered, "You kept your promise." Years passed. The galaxy began to heal. The Council rebuilt its cities, this time with humans among them, not as exiles, but as equals. Children on new colonies learned about the Terran Vanguard, the fleet that rose from the void and burned away the darkness. And every year, when the stars aligned, a strange white light appeared where the omen once fell, a light that never faded. Some said it was just a star. Others believed it was Rhea Solan, watching over the galaxy she saved.